Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. So today I'm going to be talking about a very important topic for the future of Age of Empires 2, and I think it's a topic that a lot of people can have a bunch of different opinions regarding it. There's really no right or wrong, and it's regarding the competitive scene of Age of Empires 2, but it's not so much to do with the players as it is so much to do with the fans and the viewers. And the whole idea is, how do we speed up the competitive scene and how do we make Age of Empires 2 competitive faster? Now, for those who might not be aware of what I'm talking about or why it's relevant, well, in the past few years, basically since DE came out, we've had a push to either remove Dark Age or to speed up Dark Age in order to make the games faster and the games more, fast-paced, if not like shorter, just more fast-paced and kind of speed through to the action. Now, there has been an attempt, of course, with Empire Wars. Red Bull kind of pioneered that or pushed that. However, Empire Wars has a few drawbacks that kind of hold it back from becoming the new norm. Basically, it skips Dark Age completely. You start in Feudal Age with like 27 villagers, established economy, and what it does right is that it gets action right away, but it skips a core part of the game, which is that build up, that setup. Your base isn't even your own. They start you out with a layout, and it just feels a little off. It's not bad. It's actually a really fun game mode, but I would say it's pretty much just that. It's another game mode, and it doesn't quite feel like standard AV2, like random map. And I think that's a lot of the criticism that I've heard from viewers and players, is that it doesn't quite feel the same as regular random map. And also from a player perspective, you don't have time to scout your opponent before committing to what you want to go for. So while I actually really like Empire Wars, I can see some clear drawbacks. So what I'm going to be talking about today is the 9 villager start in comparison with the 3 villager start, the classic random map. If you guys are not familiar with the 9 start, it's basically the Deep Water League game mode. They're the first tournament to ever use it, and it's been used by Warlords from MEMB since then, a tournament that just finished. And then it's going to be used by the Grand Melee, the DreamHack tournament, $100,000 LAN event in December. So it's been used in the past, recently picked up again, and it's going to be used in the near future. So it's a really big topic right now, and it's something that I really wanted to discuss with you guys just to see where everyone's at. And I'm going to give you guys the pros and cons of the 9 villager game mode and the 3 villager classic random map game mode, and kind of discuss which of the two is the best going forward. And I'll just give my opinion and hopefully hear a lot from you guys as well in the comments below. In the background, I've got a game me and Viper played on the 9 villager start game mode. The settings will be identical to the DreamHack tournament a month from now, so it's very relevant gameplay, but it's really just background noise for this particular video. So I'll just go ahead and play that, and hopefully you can enjoy as I whip around, and I'll just follow my perspective and let that game run in the background. So guys, without further ado, let's hop into the topic here. 9 villager start or random map, 3 villager start. What are the pros and cons? Well, listen, I'll start with the random map, the thing that we all know, and I'll give you guys the pros and cons for that one. But really just the pros we'll focus on. So the first big point is that it's classic and everyone knows it. I personally feel like AV2 is very nostalgia driven. A lot of the people that come back to the game are pretty much just that, returning players. They used to play the game before, and now they're coming back to play it again. And so it's very nostalgia driven. You want to come back and find the same thing that you were playing before, just better. More people playing, better graphics, new civilizations, things like that. But you want to see the actual game intact. And that's, in my opinion, a really big pro for random map. It just kind of makes things very easy to follow for the casual fan or for the returning fan / player. Another thing kind of similar to this, kind of ties into the same topic, is that civs have been balanced around this game mode for 20 years. The civ balance, no doubt about it, is around random map 1v1. It's pretty much what was the prominent game mode back then. It remains to be the prominent game mode till now, and maybe going forward it could change, but for now the civ balance is based around these settings, and it's actually quite good right now. Like, the civ balance is very good around random map. Now this can obviously be adapted for the 9 villager start. It could have balance changes around the 9 villager starts. It could also just have a new meta associated to it. But the core balance is for random map, and I don't think you'll hit something as good as the balance for random map in other game modes. So whether we care about the balance taking a small hit or not, could be a pro or con, depending on which way you look at it. I personally think it's a pro for random map to have good game balance, but I think it could be adapted decently well for the 9 villager start, so it's not the biggest point in my opinion. The next big pro I have is that in random map, you have time to build up your base and to scout your opponent. For me, a big part of RTS is scouting and information. I want to be able to actually build up my strategy from the get-go. There's a lot of things going on in Dark Age that are pretty much invisible to the people watching. They don't really see what you're thinking about. They don't realize that if you build a house there, it means you want to wall up that side of the map. The small decisions you make in Dark Age or in the early game really have an impact, really matter. But from a viewer perspective, it's a boring age. So I do see both sides. But for me, for random map, for 3v start, it really is a big pro that you're able to build up your base how you want it. You're able to set up your strategy. And most importantly, you're able to scout. You can see what your opponent's going for. Whether he's got 3 on wood or 4 on wood changes how the opening's been played. And I think that these things are what make RTS really fun. And pretty much it's the reason why I can play 1,000 games of 1v1 Arabia and not get bored. I've even played like maybe 10,000 till now and still not get bored of 1v1 Arabia, because it's the scouting that makes things different. It's the matchups that makes things different. And every game, although feels similar, something different happens and keeps it fresh. So for me personally, although the start is a little slow in random map, I do feel like it really gives you that time that you need in game to make decisions, to build up your base, and to pick your strategy for that particular situation. Another pro I have for the 3v start is that Dark Age is an age. At the end of the day, even though it might not be the most eventful age, it still is an age. Dark Age aggression with militia is a viable strategy. It's a very viable and even popular strategy in high level. And I would say laming and sending a villager forward to kind of disrupt your opponent, although I personally don't like it, is a way to play the game, is a play style. So I think that if you speed up Dark Age or skip Dark Age, then these two strategies might lose a lot of favor, and we might even like make the game a little bit more simplified, which I don't know if that's a good thing. So I would say a big pro for random map is that Dark Age gets the respect it needs, and it lets you kind of pick strategies from Dark Age that let you build up into that feudal age. And yeah, you have a little bit more time to kind of do a few things that you wouldn't be able to if we speed up the game, if you sped up the game pretty much with the 9 build start. So I would say it's a pretty big pro for random map, for classic random map. And just recapping, those are the points I had. If I missed anything, do let me know in the comments below. But just to recap, it's a classic. Everyone knows people start random map. The civ balance is based around it. You have time to set up and scout the map, so every game feels different. Every game you get to build it up how you want to go for it. And also, Dark Age is well respected, and you have a lot of time to do what you want in Dark Age. All right, so that's the pros for 3v start. Why 9v start? Why do we need to speed up the game? Well, the narrative and what I'm hearing is that the competitive scene, or for viewers and for new viewers especially, the Dark Age is too slow and too uneventful to capture their attention. Now, I'm not an expert in this, so I'm really just gonna lay off the information and ask you guys, as viewers, maybe as new viewers, do you guys get the sensation when you're watching random map that it's too slow, or there's not a lot going on? Are you one of the people that wish that it's sped up? I personally don't have an opinion about this. I like both game modes, random map and 9v starts. So as a viewer, I personally like both, and even as a player, I like both. So I don't really have a big opinion on this, but that's the reason why we want to push, or I say we, but like the tournament hosts, the admins, some of the players want to push for a faster paced game, is to kind of just modernize it to make it more easy for the newer generations to kind of like get hooked on the game and just make things overall a little bit more quick. Just kind of like esportize the game, if that's even a word. So that's like the reason why they're pushing a faster paced AoE 2. And so, okay, that being said, again, let me know the feedback if you're one of those people that like to have a faster paced games, or both to play and watch. Can be a great discussion to have in the comments. Now let's talk about the pros of the 9v start, and at the end we'll give a good conclusion and see what the future holds for us, at least in my opinion. So the 9v start, obviously the first pro I have to mention is the quicker start. You could capture the attention of a lot of newcomers because there's action a little bit quicker. When you have long sets like best of 7, best of 9, you basically shave like 3 or 4 minutes off every game. So the sets are, I guess, more flavorful because there's more games, more maps, but it's not as tedious. And that's, in my opinion, that's a pretty big pro. Listen, if you want to speed up the game and that's your goal, the 9v start does a pretty good job at that. What I will say as well is that the biggest pro of the 9v start in comparison to something like Empire Wars is that it speeds up the game, but it doesn't completely change the game. Like, it still feels like you're playing random map, it just feels like it's 3 or 4 minutes faster. And so like, a lot of the strategies that work in random map also work in this game mode. So I don't know. I personally like the balance of fast pace but not different game mode, and I think the 9 start does a beautiful job at that. So faster start's definitely a pro for this one, and yeah, and I do recognize that, and I do like that myself. What I will say, and this might be ironic with the background gameplay, is that the second point on my list, less early full wall potential. I know I'm fully walled right now, but it is 13 minutes. What I'm talking about here is that in random map, full walling became the meta recently. Like, everyone just full walls really early before any aggression can come in, and this is actually harder to do in 9 start. With the right settings, it's very hard to wall up earlier because you need to make sure you're gathering enough food to click up, everything happens faster, and you're not necessarily going to have the time, like the 3 or 4 minutes extra, to wall up your map in early game. And so this leads to more aggression. This is actually another great point for fast-paced games or faster-paced games. And I personally think that this is the biggest pro for the 9 start. Less early full walls, more chance for a little bit of early aggression, no matter how much that is. And I personally think that's a great thing for the game. The worst thing that could ever happen to Age of Empires 2, in my opinion, is to have the best strategy be full defense. If the best strategy is ever full defense every single game, then no one will have any incentive to attack, and we'll have a very stale early game, no matter what the civs are, no matter what the maps are, a very stale early game where everyone wants to stay safe and no one wants to take any risks. And I think that's the worst state to ever have Age of Empires 2 in. And I think 9 start pulls us away from that, which is great. The next pro on my list, it was kind of a pro for the 3 start, but I kind of changed the wording and made it a pro for the 9 start as well. In this regard with civ balance, now I don't think that 9 start has the perfect civ balance, but what I will say is that the civ balance is different. The civ balance, is tweaked a little bit so that some civilizations that are strong in random map are not as strong in 9 start, and I think that's a good thing. So when you see 9 start tournaments, it just means that you're going to see different civilizations being played in comparison to random map. And it's not like they're all different, like a lot of them are the same, of course, but there are a few differences that might make the tournament a little bit more fresh if it's on 9 start, kind of shake up what civilizations you see, what civilizations are being picked, and I think that's overall could be a good thing. So I don't think the balance is as thought through for 9 start, and there might be some things that are a bit more broken, a bit more overpowered, and maybe some civilizations that just simply don't work on 9 start because the balance wasn't originally based around it. But you will see some at least different civilizations being played, which I think is somewhat good. So that's maybe a lesser point, but just something I thought I'd mention. And the last point, it's mostly from a viewer perspective, and even from a player perspective, actually, I take that back. Even from both perspectives, there's going to be a newer and fresher meta around the 9 start. I think that for random map tournaments, if every tournament was 3 start, a lot of the same strategies, a lot of the same civilizations, a lot of the same maps would be being played, and it might get a little bit stale. And I think introducing 9 start will make things very fresh, at least at first. And new strategies can come up, different builders will come up, different approaches in general, and I think that that's overall quite a good thing. Keeping things fresh at the top scene is a really important thing to keep the players hooked as well as the viewers hooked. And I think the 9 start might just do a good job at that. So just making sure that players need to stay sharp, continue to innovate, and the fans always get a new treat or a new strategy or new civilizations to watch and enjoy. So yeah, that's pretty much it for the pros and cons on both sides. Now let me talk a little bit more generally speaking, going forward, what would I like as a player, and kind of leave the floor a little open as well for you guys to let me know what you guys would like to see as fans or as viewers. So for me as a player, going forward, do I want 3 start? Do I want random map random map 3 start, or do I want 9 start in the big tournaments? My personal opinion is that I actually don't mind whatever one we see. If it's 3 or 9, I actually personally don't care. I like both of them equally. Like, they're both really good, and they're both fun to play. I personally don't mind the slower start of random map, and the only thing that I like more in 9 start over than random map is the point I made earlier, which is the less full walls. Everything else for me feels pretty good for both game modes. They both feel like random map, they both feel fun, and they both, if the map is good, feel pretty fast paced, especially with today's balance. I feel like it's pretty aggressive meta right now, and I really like that. So that's personally my take on which of the two games I like better. But going forward, what do I want to see? I want to see the game mode that the viewers would like the most. And so whatever is decided to pull in the most viewership or the most engagement, the most new viewers, I want that. Because I really want Age of Empires to grow. I really enjoy playing this game. I can see myself playing this game for years to come. And whichever game mode is decided to be the best for viewers or viewer retention, new viewers, I want that game mode. And I'll play it and I'll be happy with it. And let's say if they're, if it's inconclusive, if we're not sure how that is, then I would ask to just pick a game mode and stick with it. I think that if you stick with one game mode, it's very digestible for the viewers. Everyone knows what's going on. And I would say that it's easier for players to adapt tournament to tournament if the rules and settings are quite similar. It's just like the maps and the draft that has to change. But if you keep flip-flopping between game modes, I fear that might be quite confusing to follow along. Another point I'd mention is that I do feel like between Empire Wars, between the 3 start random map, and now between the 9 start random map, it's really hard to tell which tournament is the most prestigious, which tournament matters the most. What tournament is the most competitive. And so I really fear going forward, because we have now these 3 game modes, that it's going to be like really hard to place the importance of the tournament besides the prize pool. And I personally like to have a tournament that's like prestigious because of its settings, prestigious because it has all the best players, maybe because it's a LAN event, and also because of the prize pool. I want to have different factors into it that makes the tournament the most prestigious, maybe the most viewership, etc., etc. But I think if you have so many different settings, it's going to be really hard to kind of paint a proper picture on which is the most competitive, which is the most prestigious, which is like the tournament to win. And I don't know, I think that personally having a lot of game modes, I think might lead to a few, a few, I don't know if it's problems, but a few weird conversations or weird discussions around the community. Yeah, that's just kind of my take, a little side note, I suppose you can say. But yeah, that's pretty much all I had to say about the 9 start and 3 start. Now I want to leave the floor open to you. What would you like to see as a viewer going forward? Which game mode do you like the most? Which one would you like to see thrive going forward? And is there, do you have a strong opinion? Do you have a light opinion? Do let me know in the comments. Anything and everything is welcome. I'd like to have a conversation around this, just so I can personally get a feel of what the viewers want, because at the end of the day, this is mostly a decision to speed up the game and make it more digestible and more palatable for the viewers, and it's less to do about the players, in my opinion. But yeah, that's all I have to say about it. The game is about to end soon, I believe, so I think we'll just watch the last fight, and I'll end off the video with that. Hindustani camels are a different species, by the way. I mean, look at this fight. He has like 3 or 4 more knights with the monks, and it's still like not even close at the end. I mean, I am reinforcing, but like, oh my god, the camels are just insane. And yeah, the GG scald. So that's the replay. Alright guys. Hopefully this video was fun. Do let me know if you want to see more videos like these, like little discussion videos. And as always, thanks for watching the video, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.